Hi, my name's Jürgen Strauss from InnovaBiz. I'm a member of the Network Connections BNI chapter in Geelong that meets every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. at the Geelong Wool Exchange complex in Corio Street. Now today I'd like to welcome to the 6th episode of the Network Connections podcast, Braith Bamkin, who's the Executive Director of BNI Melbourne West and Geelong. Welcome to the podcast, Braith.
Thanks for having me, Jürgen.
Yeah, now Braith is sitting in Albert Park with all the ducks and geese and seagulls there.
Swans.
And swans in between. I think this is your 5th one-on-one today, right?
5th one-on-one today,
yeah.
Yes.
So there we go. So for those people that are a little bit reluctant to do one-on-ones, here's a good example. We've got somebody that's done 5 in one day. Well, he's about to do the 5th one. So I wanted to make sure that everybody listening to our podcast today knows that they're really welcome to come along and meet all of our business owners in person because we've got a fantastic group of business owners in the Network Connections chapter, and we're all dedicated to the success of our own businesses as well as to the success of each other's businesses, but also every one of us is committed to improving the standards within the industries that we represent. So it really is a group that's worth meeting. Now, Braith, I wanted to ask you a few questions so that people listening to the podcast get a better idea of who you are as a person. Of course, they can see you with all that lovely blue sky behind you and get a feeling of how you developed your business, how you ended up being the executive director of a large collection of BNI chapters and what drives you on a day-to-day basis. So before we get on to all of that, let's start with something really simple. So when you're a young kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a flight attendant.
A flight attendant?
No, I was a little kid and I didn't believe that there was any such thing as an overseas country. I thought it was a conspiracy against me, and I thought the only way I'd get to prove it was that I could actually be a flight attendant. I kind of didn't go for the whole pilot thing, so flight attendant was pretty good.
Yeah, well, pilot is actually a pretty popular answer to that question. So flight attendant I haven't had before.
Yeah, everyone said pilot, so I wanted to be different.
Yeah, okay. So what prompted you to kind of abandon that quest and take a different direction?
I think the reality of what that actually meant doing. I don't think I'd be very good at serving people on a flight, and yes, I certainly took a different direction in my life.
Yeah. So let me ask you something else, because now I told you I was going to ask some tough questions. So Braith Bamkin is quite an unusual name, he says, being named Jürgen Strauss, right?
Strauss.
And so tell us where that came from. Is there a particular nationality or something associated with that?
My godmother's last name was Braithwaite, and her nickname was Braith.
Okay.
My parents thought that was a pretty cool name, but as it turns out, it's actually a Welsh name, as is Bamkin. So
all right. So your parents are from Wales, or?
Yeah.
So sorry, are your parents from Wales? Hello, I've got audio but no visual now. Can you still hear me?
Okay.
You still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, it's breaking up a bit now. I've lost the remote. So we're talking about your Welsh background. So, and you decided not to pursue a career as a flight attendant. So what made you then sort of change direction, and where did you head up? Where did you start off your career, I guess?
Yeah, I left, after I left university, I was working in a hotel when I was at university, and I came back to, so I was in university in New Zealand. I came back to Australia and continued to work in that hotel chain for a year while I was trying to decide what to do and having a good time partying, as you do at that age. And quite by accident, I got a job at a fabric company selling commercial textiles, and spent the next 15 years of my life selling commercial textiles to architects and interior designers. So I spent a long time doing that, and then decided there was only so many meters of fabric you could sell in your life. and I went and did an MBA and changed direction and ended up in telco.
Okay, that was a bit of a change, sort of from.
Yeah, yeah. I got a part-time job while I was studying, and that was with Nokia when they were rolling out shops back in the day when Nokia was popular.
Yeah.
And that job turned into a full-time job after I graduated, so it was great.
Okay. Yeah.
And I had never intended to do that, but life has a way of doing that.
Yeah. So how long were you with Nokia?
Up until only with Nokia, I was only there for a couple of years, and then I went to Telstra and then Three Mobile.
Okay. So through all the, well, not through all of them, but through several of the
Few of them, yeah.
telco providers, yeah.
Mm.
And then and so you had a mattress business for quite some time. That's right, isn't it?
Did, yeah. As I got made redundant from Three, I went overseas, came back, and got the first job I applied for was the sales and marketing manager for this mattress company. And over the course of a number of years, we built that business from 2 to 15 stores, and I bought one of those stores as a franchisee.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and have you sold that now?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay, so but it was successful.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and that was, when did you first come into contact with BNI?
Well, when I first bought the franchise as a franchisee, I was telling all the other franchisees you have to go and do networking,
Yeah.
and you have to build your business through networking. Thinking it was a great thing to do, but never actually doing it myself. And then I thought, now I'm a franchisee, I better put my money where my mouth is. And I went off to a local council networking meeting where I was invited to come to a BNI meeting. Eventually I went and turned up at that and thought it was amazing and joined, and did really well out of it.
Yeah, and the BNI journey started there and never stopped.
Yeah, never stopped.
Yeah. So tell us about some of your achievements then in the, I guess, in your previous business first.
In the mattress business?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, that was a business that was family owned, and the guy didn't really have much focus on what he wanted to do to grow it. He knew he wanted to grow it and have franchises, and I'd been involved in franchising through telco, so we brought some franchisees on board. I changed the branding for them. We had a marketing plan and a strategy which they'd never had before, and we grew that business to 15 stores around Victoria, 50 staff. It was great.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. All right. And when did you then decide to get more heavily involved in BNI as not just a member of the a chapter?
Yeah, well, having been a member and seeing how well it had worked for me, I actually went to the owner of the business at the time and said, I think there's a lot of education that needs to happen in the region, and I was education coordinator at the time in my chapter, and she said, well, why don't you become a director? And I thought, well, why not? So I did, and 6 months after that, she asked if I'd like to take on the role of area director, because I'd resigned from the national sales and marketing manager role, and I was looking for something different to do. And she said, do it for 6 months while you're finding your feet, and that ended up being a year and a half, and then I ended up buying the Melbourne West region.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's so when somebody meets you now for the first time, Braith, and they ask you, what do you do? What do you tell them? What's kind of your one sentence elevator pitch?
Yeah, I run a marketing organisation that helps business people get word of mouth business referrals into their business.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, very precise and to the point. You define who it is you're helping. Yeah, and the benefits. Yeah. So, what do you spend your time doing now, day to day?
Day to day,
Yeah.
working with chapters and directors to grow their business. So ultimately, as an executive director or owner of the BNI business, we're completely focused on making sure that our members make more money. So putting in place strategies and processes and procedures that help the members achieve that.
Mm-hmm. And how many?
Sorry?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so working with a team of directors now, I'm growing the director and ambassador team, which is very exciting.
Yeah. So how many chapters do you have in Geelong and Melbourne West?
In the region that I own, we have 8. In the region that I manage, we have 23.
Okay. that's a fairly large number of businesses.
It is, and on 755 members at the moment.
That's yeah,
Yeah,
it's a lot. Yeah,
it is. Right.
So what do you see as the biggest challenges in building that or growing that region?
Making sure that the right people join chapters and that they actually follow the system to get a result that, you know, I know that they can and do get if they follow the process. But sometimes people come in with unrealistic expectations, and sometimes chapters allow people in with the wrong expectations, and, you know, part of our role is to make sure that we manage that.
Yeah, that's a really important point, isn't it? There's growth for the sake of growth is not necessarily a good thing, because if you bring the wrong person in, you're doing the chapter a disservice and that person as well.
Yeah, quality over quantity every day.
Yeah, that's great. So, do you worry about anything? Do you have sleepless nights?
In the business? Or?
Yeah.
No, I tend not to worry these days. I've spent a lot of my life worrying about things that you can't control, so I tend to just focus on doing the best job that I possibly can, to deliver the best product to the members that I can, and I just have to be confident that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah. So what are your goals going forward for the region?
I was just talking to the National Director about that this morning, in fact. It's interesting you asked that. I want to double the size of our business, my region, next year, and the year after I want to double that again. So I've got some pretty ambitious goals.
Okay, so when you say double that, is that number of chapters or total members?
Double the amount of closed business, double the members, double the chapters.
Yeah.
But ultimately it comes down to making sure that the members have a really great experience. But you know, I know that there's a lot of value in having more chapters in a region, because it creates more of a buzz about BNI, and then BNI members are perceived to be better people to do business with, and that's ultimately my goal.
And for those non-BNI members that may be listening to this, what we're talking about is a group of individual businesses that exchange business on a daily basis virtually, but they meet weekly to do all the bookkeeping of that. And there's throughout the world there are millions of chapters of BNI, and they do billions. Sorry,
170,000 members in 6,000 chapters, but millions would be great, Jürgen.
Sorry, it must be millions of referrals then. I'm trying to remember the script. Millions of referrals and billions of dollars of business, right? That's
yes.
It. So 170,000 chapters. And the wonderful thing, I know we've got several members of our chapter who've travelled internationally over the last couple of years in various different places, the USA, Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Asia, and they've turned up to BNI meetings in those places with a bunch of complete strangers in business, and been welcomed with open arms, simply because it's, you know, the whole BNI philosophy is one of givers gain, and the system with which they run their meetings and their whole business is the same worldwide. So you walk in there and you feel at home almost.
Absolutely. In fact, I just connected one of our members to somebody in India yesterday, and he's going to a trip in India, and they're having a meeting in 2 weeks in India. So it happens all around the world.
Yeah, that's great. So when you're not doing BNI stuff and you're not working, what are you doing? How do you keep balanced?
Well, the last couple of months have been a little bit of an enigma, because I had a shoulder reconstruction, as many of the members will know. So I've been out of action for five months. But before that, and I'm just back into it at the moment, I'm a very avid yogi. So I practice yoga 4 or 5 times a week, and I'm quite into my health and fitness. So I like to spend a lot of time here in Albert Park exercising, but you know, just getting back into that after the shoulder reconstruction.
Yeah. Okay. So you do a lot of walking or jogging?
Running, and and I like to walk as well, but preferably to run.
Yeah.
I'm a big guy, but to keep off the weight, I like my drink.
Yeah, it's surprising how many runners, joggers there are in BNI.
Yes,
Seems to be popular.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So What if there's one thing that you could wave a magic wand and fix something within your um, franchise right now? What would that be?
It's a really tough question. I think the thing that I would probably look to do the most, if I could, would be to, I don't know how to say this politically correctly, but have only the right members that follow the giver's game philosophy in the chapters, and have the members that don't get that or don't follow that philosophy to self-select themselves out, because then I know that all of the members that are there that understand that philosophy would have a really great experience.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. And the strange thing is, or the counterintuitive thing that a lot of people don't get, is that if you approach networking in general, I think, as what can I get out of it, you generally won't get anything out of it. But if you approach it with what can I contribute to this network, then you'll get a lot out of it.
I spent 20 years doing it the wrong way, and when I found the right way, I went, where's this been all my life?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's great. So, have you read any interesting books recently?
I've just reread a business book called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson,
Okay.
which is about doing the little one percenters, all the little tiny things that at the time don't seem to matter, but the sum total of them over time makes a significant difference in your life. So I'm really enjoyed rereading that.
Yeah, that's fascinating because I'm not familiar with that book. I haven't read that or come across it, but one of my favourite sayings is small things done consistently in the right places make a big difference. So that sounds like that's the message it's giving.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Easy to do, easy not to do is his big thing. So you're right, yeah, small things make a big difference.
Yeah. All right. So what are you currently doing? Are there some exciting things going on that you're working on right now?
I'm actually about to get on a plane. Tomorrow morning I'm off to Thailand for some training. One of the world's most successful BNI directors is holding a training session in Bangkok. His name's Tom Fleming. He has a region in the States where the average chapter size is over 60. And he's got about 800 members. He's very successful, and his members make a lot of money as a result of that. So I want to learn from him how to make sure that my members get the same sort of experience as well. So I think it's great to model yourself on people who have done things well elsewhere. And I come back from that for a week, and then we're off to the States for the International BNI Conference, where I'll get the next round of BNI information, which will be very exciting.
Okay.
So we're constantly learning and developing ourselves so that we can provide the best and most current information to our members.
Yeah, that's great. So we're all looking forward to hearing back from you in early November, I guess, and finding out what all the latest things are that we need to be doing to ramp our chapters up to 60 plus members and turn over that much more business.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, I usually close this off with a referral round, which basically is finding out your bread and butter, dream and cream referrals. So we'll begin with the bread and butter referral.
A bread and butter referral for me, business people who are looking to grow their business through word of mouth marketing, who have a really good strong network and want to introduce their network to other people's networks and collectively benefit from that. So that's a good referral for me. A cream referral for me is somebody who has a great network and wants to start a new chapter and build a new chapter. And a dream referral for me is help me support the region and support the members.
Can you repeat that dream referral?
New directors who want to take on new regions and new chapters for me.
Great, thanks. Yeah, because I sort of got broken up there at the dream referral. I thought we might lose you again. All right, now, so what do you think makes your region of BNI different to any of the other ones around?
I've got to say it's the members. I've got the best members anywhere. I say that everywhere and they laugh at me, but it's true.
Yeah. Well, you have to say that here, right?
I'm sitting in the middle of Melbourne. Don't worry, I say it to this lot as well.
Yeah. This is going to be public too.
That's okay, they can hear that.
Yeah.
But Melbourne, right. Geelong's the best.
That's great. So who's in your network that we might want to get to know, or we should be getting to know?
What do you mean?
Well, who, like in the who do you know network kind of thing. Last part of the gains profile.
Oh, where my networks are? Well, I'm very well connected into the franchise community. I was quite involved in Franchise Council of Australia, so I'm very well connected with a lot of people in the franchise world, in the Franchise Council of Australia, and a lot of those businesses there that are members of that association.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one to know, because many of our members in our chapter are often asking for franchise organisations and trying to get introductions to see where they can help members there.
So it's a very good connection. I've been able to help a lot of our members with good connections with some of those people.
That's great. So what do you see as the future for BNI Melbourne West and Geelong?
A lot more money for my members. A lot more business. That's the future. That's my goal.
Yeah. And what about for you?
For me, I'm going to be doing this for a long time. I hope so, because I'm watching my car getting a parking ticket as we speak.
I know. Do you want to run over there and negotiate?
Well, too late now.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you sort of making that sacrifice for us.
Well, there you go. Serves me right, not putting money in the meter, eh?
Yeah. So, and what do you see as the future? Because there's lots of networking things around, isn't there? And so what do you see as the future for kind of networking? Because a lot of people that start up business, they seem to be negative on networking. They don't really, well, they don't understand what it is first, and they don't understand the benefits.
That's correct. Look, really, people say to me all the time, with the social media, LinkedIn and Facebook, is there going to be a need for networking? And I think it's really interesting that at the moment what we're seeing is a lot more young people joining BNI, people in their 20s and 30s, because what they're craving is the personal connection.
Yeah.
I think as social media takes over the world, people are really going to want to connect on a human level and build those relationships, which is what BNI is about. So I think that there's going to be a lot of value placed in building quality relationships with human beings, live and in person. So I actually think that the next 10, 20 years' time, we're going to see a lot of people really want to connect on that human level. And, social media is here to stay. It'll be part of your networking mix, but I think that getting to know people, build trust, and holding people accountable, which are the core values of BNI, will really be a lot more prominent over the next decade or two. And hopefully that will see me out for my working life.
Yeah, well, certainly. I mean, social media or what we're doing here with a Skype teleconference, I mean, they're fantastic tools and they do make things easier, but they're not a substitute for building that personal relationship when you actually see people and you...
It's an adjunct.
Exactly, yeah. So what's the number one piece of advice you'd give anybody then that wants to grow their business and get more word-of-mouth referrals?
Absolutely. Well, set yourself a plan for what it is that you're trying to achieve with your word-of-mouth referrals. A lot of people just go out there, throw business cards out of a lot of people and hope that they're going to get some sort of referral. But really you need to know what it is that you're looking for from a referral source and referral sources, and how you're able to help them. So be clear about what you want and be clear on how you can help other people as well.
Yeah. That's the really important point, isn't it? Be clear on what your expectations are and kind of measure that. And one of the things where BNI, I think, is very different to a lot of networking things is it's very structured and it holds everybody accountable. It puts all these measures in place so that I know, for example, how many referrals I'm getting. I know what the value of the total business is. I know the referrals when the renewal notice comes up, where I have to obviously pay for my annual membership. I can very quickly, within press of a couple of buttons in my accounting system, look up and say, well, what's the return I'm getting on that from a monetary point of view, and make a very quick decision. And it's a no-brainer decision each time, obviously.
And I encourage people to measure their referrals so that they can make a decision in BNI whether to renew or not. And most of the time, people who have a plan, who have a structure, like to measure the results, and they tend to see that it is a very valuable source of referrals into the business. And the longer you're in, of course, the better it is.
That's right, yeah. And of course, the system also, I'm able to track my own performance. So how many referrals am I bringing in, how much business am I bringing in. So it's not just about the referrals I bring in, but how much money is that bringing into the group as a general. So in terms of the giver's gain philosophy, I look at that usually every month, but sometimes more often than that, and I can easily see if I'm not, if I'm neglecting something from time to time. I just give myself a kick up the behind and get moving.
And even if you're not in BNI, Jürgen, I think it's important that if you do engage in networking activities, whatever they are, that you actually look at what the return on your time and your investment is. People need to know that if you're out there trying to network, that you need to be getting a result. So even if you're doing just the local chamber and you're joining the local chamber, what is it that you're getting, and measure that. So make sure that you're getting a return on that time.
Yeah, that's right. That's always good. And I think Robin Henderson, in several of her books, and I mean she's a master networker, and one of the things that she does point out is always have an objective before you actually go to an event. Have an objective. What are you going to achieve? So whether it's something simple like meeting 3 new people, or whether it's you want to meet a specific person and actually set up a follow-up meeting to discuss some particular business idea, but set those objectives in advance so that you can then go there with that purpose.
Business, it can be that, just meeting people, so that's okay. But so long as you know that you're going to get something out of that time that you put in.
Yeah, sometimes I go to the chamber events and I'm not really sure what I want out of it, so I set myself the objective of helping 2 people. And it's a little vague, but basically I just listen for, if people ask me some question or something and I'm able to answer that question for them or point them to a resource that's going to help them solve a problem, then I've helped that person. So I can sort of tick that. And usually what that ends up doing is usually I end up getting business because, you sort of recognise there's somebody that's helping.
Yeah, I usually have an objective, something somewhat similar to that, and that is to connect 2 people to
Okay, yeah.
So that's what I always set myself. If I go to one of those Geelong after 5s, I try and connect 2 people that don't know each other. So I think that's a very good thing that you're doing as well.
That's great, yeah. All right, well, this has been great. So where can people reach out to you and say thank you for sharing your time with us today, and even putting up with wearing a parking ticket?
Yeah, and it's a Melbourne parking ticket, something like $95.
Oh, great.
BNIMWG.com.au is our website, and all my contact details can be found there. BNIMWG.com.au.
Okay, and we'll post a link to that underneath the video here so that people can just click on that and follow that. And of course, those people listening to this podcast that are in Geelong or in fact in Melbourne can go to any one of those chapters that are in Braith's region from time to time. So Braith isn't at every chapter every week, but he is at, for example, the Network Connections chapter at least once a month, right? So, and you can come along there and meet Braith in person, and you're certainly welcome at any BNI chapter. So, in regards to our chapter, you can find out more about our chapter specifically at bninetworkgeelong.com.au, and of course the podcast, this podcast episode along with the show notes and the video will be at that website. So Braith, thanks again for your time, and with the lovely sky background. I don't think it's actually recording that, so unfortunately the viewers won't see that, so I'll just have a nice photo of you up there. And also putting up with that parking ticket. So thanks a lot for sharing your time, and I wish you all the best with what you're doing. Have a fantastic trip to Thailand and the US if I don't see you beforehand, and thanks for being on the Network Connections podcast.
Thanks, Ian. Appreciate it. See ya.
Bye-bye.